Very good. All right. There we are live, and only a few things are falling apart. Excellent. Hello, welcome. Okay. First question, is my background music too loud? Hopefully it is not, but if it is, let me know. I will turn it down a notch. So tonight I am going to be doing a design that is, no, it's not too loud? Okay, great, thank you. So basically what I'm going to be doing, I had an idea to start sort of a new little series that I'm going to do once in a while where I take a design that is made for, longer nails, and then try to adapt it for short nails. Or vice versa, I may end up at some point in time doing the reverse and taking a short nail design and adapting it for long nails. And in this, what I want to do is basically just do one mani, where I sort of talk about, I show you the original inspiration, and then talk about my thought process in redesigning that and how I go about sort of thinking about how I want to redesign it. Because sometimes it's super obvious, right? Like sometimes you see a design and, it's like, okay, well, I can just, omit these elements, or I can just make this part smaller and it's going to work out just fine. But sometimes it's a little more challenging, and sometimes there are some really beautiful designs that, you try to adapt them, and it doesn't really quite work. I currently have one long hand and one short hand, and so I think this is going to work out really nicely for me, because I'm going to be able to sort of do whichever. If I decide to do a long design based on a short design, or a short design based on a long design, I think it'll work either way. So, I have selected a design for tonight, and this was one that I found on, hopefully you'll be able to see this. This was one that the YouTube camera can't see it, but that's okay. The Instagram camera can, and that matters more because I can edit in the photo later on. So I found this just, basically looking around on Instagram. This is by Karolina Orzechowska, maybe. I'm probably mangling that. I will put the link to the original nail artist, to her Instagram account, in the description when I post the VOD. So I just found this in the trending. I was looking for Christmas or winter sort of nail art designs. So this is really cute, and obviously it is designed for a longer nail, and I would be able to do it as is on this hand, but on this hand it would require some modification. And so that's what I want to focus on for tonight, is just how do I do a design like this on significantly shorter nails than it's designed for. And because I am going to start doing this as like a semi-regular sort of live stream or video session, I want to get people to submit designs that they would like to see adapted. So if you come across a design, you think, gee, I really like that, but my nails are too short, or gee, I really like that, but my nails are too long, how would I redesign that? So you've seen the inspo for tonight. Nails Makeup by Brooklyn Anders, the design that we're basing tonight's design on, yes, very cute. I think it's adorable. And so I don't have a whole lot of pinks, but I did pull a few different pinks from my collection. It's not going to be exactly the same sort of shades, but we're going to do our best. So, and I do want to sort of keep this inspo thing fairly close. So we have all three nails are starting out with pink. It looks like we have one here, and I also am going to expand this out to the full hand. I'll just sort of extrapolate what I would do based on these three fingers, because that's all they gave in the video. But it looks like, so where the gnome is, we want to do just like a matte creme, but then on these other parts, we've got a section that is a different kind of shimmery polish that might just be a creme with a topper or something like that. So I'm going to start by just painting all my nails with a creme. I'm going to use this Dimension Nails Snowy Plover. I do have an affiliate code with this company, with Dimension Nails. But obviously, you know, like this is not intended as an advertisement for them. It's just I happen to have a nice pale pink from them, and I don't have a whole lot of nice pale pinks, so it's not a color that I tend to go for a whole lot. All right, so we're just gonna do a quick base just to get a color down. I think I'm probably gonna do like 2 coats of the creme, and then on some of the nails I'm going to add a coat of something else to sort of give the effect of that shimmer that we saw. So basically all the nails that aren't going to get the gnome on them, which is basically probably all of them except one. This design makes you wonder if your mani is sweater enough. You know, your mani is sweater enough. There's no such thing as sweater enough. It's a sweater. Your mani depicts a sweater. It's inspired by a sweater. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to do this Yippee Skippy from Wildflower. This is one that I had gotten in PR this past summer. I think I'm going to do that over top of this creme for the nails that get the shimmer treatment. And so while that's drying a little bit, just to sort of talk you through a little bit of the thought process here for how I want to adapt it. So obviously, you know, the whole gnome is not going to fit on any of my nails unless I make him very tiny. And I don't really want to make him super, super tiny, right? Like I don't want to make him an itty bitty little thing. First of all, it's going to be a lot more difficult to paint. And second of all, I think it'll be kind of less cute if it's too small. So I think one thing we can do right away is just sort of chop it off here, right? Because I think as long as you get a little bit of the beard and the nose and the hat, you can already tell what it is. Like that's enough information for your brain to go, oh, that's a cute little gnome guy, right? So that's the first thing we can do is we can chop that part off and lose that immediately and not be losing anything from the design. The second thing we can do is we can sort of take this hat and like bend it some more, right? So it's not quite so upright. So that's going to give us a little bit more space we can chop off at the top. So the gnome is actually the easiest nail in some ways to deal with, even though you would think it would be a little more challenging. It's actually the easiest one to sort of adapt for a shorter nail. These other ones we're going to have to give some thought because this kind of 3D design, in the amount of space that we'll have to do a French tip on shorties, is not really going to read super, super well, I think. And so what I think we might want to do is not really try to get the full sweater design on the nails that are just the French tip. We might want to just do like, maybe just do this sort of dotting tool edging thing with a French tip that's the creme. have this part be the shimmer and do the, you know, snowflakes and stars and such, whatever these are. They look like stars, but it doesn't make sense to me for them to be stars. But anyway, so that's kind of what I'm thinking for 1 or 2 nails that will be like this. And then in this section here, you have sort of the opposite issue, where, you know, you're going to end up having not very much of this on a shorter nail if you want the sweater to be dominantly, or on the nail if you want the design to be predominantly the sweater design. And so I think what we'll do for that is we'll probably just omit this shimmery part, and there's going to be enough context cues, right? So we're going to be, one of the ways that you sort of make a design like this cohesive across multiple nails, even though you're doing a mix and match sort of design, is you want to do like pull the same colors, the same textures, the same motifs across multiple nails. And so, you know, you can have one nail that is completely just this and omit this, and it's still going to look cohesive with this because you're still using this color, the same polish with the same, and we're going to use the matte texture for this as well. I don't have a matte texture creme, but I'll use a matte top coat for this. I'm sorry, I'm getting fingerprints on my on my thing here. I'm trying to avoid that, to avoid reflections, but it is a challenge. And so then what I would probably do is have, you know, another nail that's just the shimmery background with a couple of asymmetric snowflakes on it. And so, you know, you're sort of taking out some of the fiddly bits that won't play as well on a much shorter design, and instead focusing on using cohesive thematic elements to sort of pull everything together. So that's sort of the thought process at this stage. So we'll go ahead and get our second coat of this creme on, because I am still using it underneath, even underneath the fully like shimmer nails, because this shimmer that I have is extremely sheer, and I don't want to have to spend a whole lot of time doing 3 coats of shimmer to build it up. I think that will be a waste of time for us, since we have to do a bunch of them in the creme anyway. This is going to make a lot more sense. So I'm thinking we do the gnome on the middle nail, and then probably do like maybe like a complete sweater nail, and then do these 2 nails as just the shimmer with the snowflakes, and then maybe for the thumb, because we've got a little bit more space, we can use this one to do the sort of sweater inspired French tip with the shimmer background, so that the thumb is going to tie this finger in with everything else, and also the colors that we're using are going to be thematically tied in. Okay? Ashley, yes, the VOD will be up here, and tonight I'll post the VOD up here, and then like tomorrow I will post it on my YouTube, yeah, so it'll be very accessible. Thank you for stopping by. Oh yeah. Yeah, I actually, you know, when I went looking for a design to adapt for this, I wasn't thinking about the 3D texture plan, but it's not really that difficult to do a 3D texture design like this with regular lacquer. You do have to have a certain amount of patience. But yeah, it's very doable. It's very doable, especially with matte polish. Okay. Sassy, you put the gnome on your thumb, pinky and ring are sweater pattern, middle and index are cute winter critters. That's how you did yours. Did you post yours? I don't think you posted yours, or if you did, I somehow missed it. Did I just miss it? Okay, so that's the 2 coats of the creme. I'm just gonna let that dry a little bit. And then we'll go ahead and put our coat of the shimmer on the nails that are going to get the shimmer background. Now, these 2 nails are not going to get the shimmer background because one of them is going to be the gnome design and one of them is going to be the full sweater design, and the others are going to have full shimmer and shimmer plus sweater. Patience, who is she? No, I don't know her either. We're not patient people here. However, I will suffer almost anything for cute nails. So, yeah. Okay. So, I think the next step is going to be to add the shimmer to our 3 nails that get shimmer. You actually knew a woman named Patience? I mean, it's not an uncommon name. Like, it's not super common, but it's not like it's a weird name. There we go. We'll just get our 1 coat of that on there. I might also end up adding a coat of this. This is a department store, or not department, drugstore brand from Canada. That mostly their polishes are just okay, but this is kind of a cute little frosty, like, I don't know, it's like little iridescent microflakes or something. It's cute. I might end up doing a little coat of that as well on these shimmer nails. I feel like it'll help add to the frosty effect. I am going to be stamping my snowflakes when I do the snowflakes in the interest of saving time and not making y'all suffer through watching me painstakingly try to make snowflakes. It's a weird name if you don't have patience. Yeah, okay, Ashley. All right. And then I guess the next thing is going to be to start on our gnome. So for the gnome, I'm going to start with the little bit of beard that we're going to have. I really should have opened this ahead of time, but I did not. This is brand new. I decided to try out the Twinkled Tea stuff since they had a really good sale on, so I picked up a couple of, just like a black and white stamping polish, and then got some more of their stampers because I really like their stampers. But the really fun thing about this is going to be that, as you may or may not realize, I am doing this on my dominant hand with my non-dominant hand. So it makes this sort of extra fun and exciting for me. But, you know, we'll get her done. I'm just working on hard mode tonight. But, you know, if I can manage it on the wrong hand, then y'all can definitely do this. Okay. Go a little wider there. We do want to make sure that we get the full luxurious width of that gnome's beard. He does have a very handsome beard. I'm a big fan of gnomes. We have a little bit of a gnome collection, actually. It's not like a huge, you know, we don't have like a bunch of lawn gnomes and stuff, but we do have a handful of gnomes for various different seasons. And including Valentine's gnomes and Christmas gnomes and Halloween gnomes. I think it's correct to have a variety of gnomes in your life. Okay, clean off my brush here. All right, and then the nose, I think I'm gonna do in this sun-kissed coral, because I don't want it to like be the same pink as everything else, because I feel like it's gonna look too samey. You know, it'll blend too much if it's all the same pink. And I think we'll use a dotting tool for the nose, just to make my life a little bit easier. So... mind you, I'm not actually making a dot, I'm making sort of an oval, so that does make things slightly more challenging. But it is a little easier making an oval with a dotting tool than it is making an oval with a brush with your non-dominant hand. So, we do what we can. All right. Now, the hat on this guy, as I recall, let me just take a peek at my reference here. Yeah, so the hat is all like glitter. They obviously used some kind of glitter that got applied afterward that's like, whoopsie daisy. That's like some sort of, I don't know, highly textured sort of thing. So... I don't have anything quite like that, but I do have Hollow Taco Menchie the cat. So I think I'm just going to use that, and hopefully that will work out well. It's certainly very sparkly and glittery. It's not going to be quite the same, but you know, you got to work with what you've got, right? Okay, so again, my right-handedness is really making this extra difficult. Normally when I do very detailed nail art, not that this is super detailed, but like when I do more complex nail art on my right hand, I normally either just stamp or I'll paint directly on a stamper. You know what I did? I very foolishly did not pull the beard all the way up to where the hat was gonna go. I think I'm actually gonna make the hat go the opposite direction from theirs. Just because that's an easier line for my left hand to make. Sometimes it's better to not fight against your body's natural inclinations. We've got an ad going for Cheetos, apparently. I'm using Spotify with some stream-friendly playlist. And unfortunately, it's free, but it does have ads every once in a while, so... And I don't really want to stop painting just to turn down the ads. So you get to listen to the ads. All right, I do need to add a little bit more of the white to go up the sides of the nose there. All right, so we'll just do a little bit. I really should have planned that out a little better because this is a lot harder to do after the fact, but that's okay. We got it. The important thing is that we get there in the end, right? And we shall. There we go. Okay, so there's our adapted little gnome guy, and I think there's more than enough of him for you to see that he is a gnome, and for him to be pretty cute. So that was the easiest nail to adapt, and I am going to put he had some little sparkles and snowflakes around him. I'll add those later. For now, we'll just leave it as is and carry on to the next nail. Just do a little cleanup here. I apparently managed to get some. That's what happens when you're working with your non-dominant hand. I am not nearly as tidy when I'm painting with my left hand. Okay, so next thing is going to be the 3D sweater look, and as I said, part of how we're adapting this is because the original design is made for significantly longer nails. Let me just zoom this back out. There we go. Because the original design is made for much longer nails, they had room to add this glittery bit up here and make it look sort of, natural and well composed. But on my much shorter nail, it's not going to work as well. And so we're just going to go ahead and omit that glitter section up top and do just sweater on my ring fingernail there. Okay, so for that, the first thing I want to do, since I have my base color down already, I want to now add a matte coat. And so, oh boy, you're still wet. It doesn't like to pick up as well when it's still wet. There, I'll set that aside. So I'm going to add a matte coat, and the reason for adding a matte coat here is that it's going to help the sweater appearance look much better. And you don't want to, when you're building up a 3D design with lacquer, with regular lacquer, if you top coat at the end, you end up smoothing out all of the texture that you've added. So we don't want to do that. Since we want to have those raised ridges and that texture, we do want to do the top coating as we go along. So I'm going to use the matte top coat on the bottom here. And we'll let that dry. And then once that's all dry, then we will go ahead and start adding the layers of texture. And it's going to take a few layers to build up. And then we're going to have to top coat again over the sections that we had just added with the liner brush. So it is going to be a bit of a process building up this sweater nail. But we're not doing all the nails that way. The other nails we are doing with the glitter and snowflake motif. So I am going to add a little bit of this. This is Quo Put a Ring on It. So this is a Canadian drugstore brand. I think it's from Shoppers Drug Mart, I believe. It's their in-store brand. So, not going to be available to Americans, but whatever, it's just what it is. It's just a cute sort of microflake. It's a frosty microflake top coat, or coat rather, topper. So we'll add that, give us a little extra sparkle on those nails that are going to be getting the stamped snowflakes. And for the stamped snowflakes themselves, I have this plate. I wonder if, yeah, I think this is the other ones are a little less, not quite the right style. So I have a few different styles of, well, let me just pick this back up again here. A few different styles of snowflakes on here. Try not to mess up my nails on my other hand, but whatever. Okay, So yeah, a few different snowflake styles, different sizes in this section that I can extract to get a nice variety. These larger ones. I think because we are working with quite small nails here, we really aren't going to want to use the bigger ones. It's mostly going to come... Oh, there we go. My other camera stopped there. Hopefully I didn't miss too much. But yeah, so we'll go ahead and start stamping that out and extracting those for use on the nails that get snowflakes. Now I do also have a resizing stamper, which if you have smaller nails and you do a lot of stamping, you may want to pick up one of these. So I got this from What's Up Nails here in the US. If you are in the US, I think that's probably the easiest way to get your hands on one, although they have them intermittently. So this is a resizer that lets you resize both larger and smaller. Yeah, I've used it a ton. I really like this thing. So basically, the way it works is if you want to make things bigger, then you're going to start out with it wound all the way down. You can see that basically what happens is when you wind it up, this bubbles up more because it's got this central thing pushing on it. So that bubbles up more, and so the total surface area here is expanded. And so if you're starting with a big design and you want to make it smaller, you expand it first, and then pick up the design, and then immediately let it back down, and that shrinks it by a fair amount, actually, a surprising amount. Now, to apply it, if you're shrinking, you can just remove this whole top, and that makes life a lot easier to apply the stamp. If you're expanding, obviously you can't do that. If you're expanding, you do have to leave it mounted, because when you're expanding, you're starting at the small, you're going to the large, and then you do have to stamp it like that, which means you don't get to see what you're doing as easily. It does make it a little bit more challenging to stamp larger. But for stamping smaller, it's fantastic. So yeah, just a little pro tip if you do have, smaller or shorter nails and a lot of plates that you find you can't use because the designs are just way too big for your nails. I really like that. So I'm actually going to use it to pick up one of these snowflakes. Where are my scrapers? There's a scraper. Okay. Because I really like this snowflake right here. So nice and quick. And then I'll just remove the excess with a bit of tape. You don't have to use tape. Some people use a slightly moistened dotting tool, moistened with nail polish, obviously. Yeah. So we can use that one, say, for my thumbnail here. I'll just go ahead and apply that. And then, let's see. Maybe I like this one as well here. So I think I'll do that one too. Oh, I did not mean to do that. I meant to put this back on the thing. The stamping larger, Naiwa Nerd says, the stamping larger I've found works best if you stamp it onto something and make a decal. Yeah, I could totally see that being a really good way to use it. If you're comfortable with making decals, that's definitely going to make life a lot easier, because then you can just choose the section of the decal that went well. Sorry, I just need to do a little cleanup here and redo that. I forgot to remount my thingy stamper head onto the tool. So we will prep it again. We will go all the way big. And if you want to shrink less, you don't have to go all the way big. You can go like halfway big and then do the shrink to get like sort of fine tune. All right, there we go. So we have our second design. I will also say with this that I have found it is best to try and get the designs as centered as possible. It seems to work better. And we'll do this one here on my index. There we go. And then I'm gonna switch over to these ones that are already a little bit smaller. Yeah, it works really, really well for shrinking. I agree. I don't know that there's a fantastic solution for expanding. Like, it seems like from a technical standpoint, it would just straight up be difficult to solve that problem. So, you know, no shade to this stamper for not being good at the harder of the two tasks that it's trying to do. And it still can do it. It's just more challenging. That's all. All right. So for this, I'm going to want to have. I'm basically trying to isolate some of the smaller snowflakes here. So I am going to end up having to use a smaller tool as well. But I'm just going to get the big stuff out of the way along the edges first. I might still use one of these larger ones as well. We'll see. Okay. So, to remove excess stuff, a lot of you probably already know that. If you've done any amount of stamping, you very likely already know this. But basically, what you want to do is use like a tool, like a pin tool, or not pin tool, a dotting tool to basically pick stuff up. But if you just go in with a dry dotting tool, stuff isn't going to stick to it. So what you want to do is just get it a little bit wet, and I often just use the leftover, because there's always like a little bit that comes off and gets scraped off onto my paper towel. So I just use that, and yes, it'll smear on there if it's too wet. That's okay. It's going to come right off as soon as it dries a little bit. There we go. All right. So, and you know, you don't have to be using a dotting tool for this. You can use a toothpick or a pen nib or whatever. Any number of things will work just fine for this. You just need it to have a little bit. This one's a little bit too big, I think. I do find it works a little better when you use a slightly smaller tool for whatever reason. Nope, that one's too wet now. Come on, there we go. All right, so I'm gonna get rid of this big one in the middle here. Also, these Twinkled Tea stampers are unusually good at holding on to stuff. Like, what are they doing? They're definitely very sticky. I think these are the stickiest stampers I've ever owned. Come on. Yeah, you can use thinner on a brush if you really need to have all the tiny details. Yeah. Just gonna get a little bit more wet here. Come on. Boy, I am struggling with this. I think this is the first time I've used the dotting tool to pick up from a Twinkled Tea stamper. and it is significantly more difficult than I am used to. And I'm not sure if it's the polish, because I'm not used to using this stamping polish either, or if it is the stamper. I feel like it might be the stamper head. Like, I feel like this stamper head is like super extra sticky. I don't know. I might have to do some more experimentation with this, because I have never struggled with picking up little bits with a dotting tool before. Love that that's happening on stream. All right, we'll take the rest of that out. Okay, so we've got a few isolated there. And I think I don't want this little guy here. Come on. Okay. Now, I'm just gonna try and clean up some of these tiny, tiny details a little bit more. There we go. Okay. All right, that's probably fine now, I think. Except for this piece right here. Get off of there. Come on. There we go. All right, so let's get a, now are they gonna be too dry to transfer? They are, because that took so long. That's okay. That's why we have quick dry base. This is the Holo Taco quick dry base, which actually works amazingly well as a sticky base. I'm just gonna be real careful around this because I want to add some more, but I do not want to mess up the one that I've already put there, and this will absolutely mess that up if I brush over it. Okay, there we go. You've banged your head on the desk a few times because you couldn't get anything to pick up? Yeah, these, this is like a new discovery for me. I got my first one, gosh, when did I get that? Maybe like a month or so ago? And holy cow, I have been extremely impressed with how sticky it is. I've not had trouble picking up anything since I got this, since I got these stampers. They're like ridiculously effective at picking stuff up. And apparently maybe slightly too effective. Okay, let's see, I want another one of these small ones there. Now I am going to be doing a French tip here that's like the sweater design, so I don't want to do too much up there. Maybe just one more small one right there. And then I think one more small one down here. Oops, I lost some. Just line that up and try and get it back on there. Come on. Oh no. Get. Ugh, it doesn't want to. All right, we have to do surgery. Hey, it's Plant Nerd Broom. Welcome, hello. Yes, the Twinkled Tea stuff is fantastic. Yeah, I've only just very recently sort of discovered them, and of course, just as they're getting out of stamping, which, like, why are they doing that to me specifically? Why would they attack me this way? It is unfair. I don't know why they're out to hurt me. Okay, so that's enough of that for the moment. I think that's all the snowflakes we're gonna want, because we're not just doing snowflakes. We are doing so many other things. So to catch up, people who have just arrived, what I am doing today is I am adapting a design that was made for much longer nails to a short nail, well, to short nails. We don't have to make that any more complicated. So this is the original design. It only includes 3 nails. It's from Karolina Orzechowska. Yeah, sorry, I'm gonna link that in the VOD. But yeah, so basically just doing an adaptation of this look that will work on short nails. And so I've been working through my process of like how I think about how to adapt it and what will work and what won't work, what's gonna look good on short nails. I have managed to ding this nail, but that's gonna be okay because we are going to be doing a whole lot of other stuff on there. So, next thing I want to do, besides just a tiny little bit of cleanup after my stamping here, is start on the first layer of the sweater design. So, that's right, the first layer, first of several. I anticipate needing at least 2 layers of the design. More likely, we will need, I think, 3. That is my guess. So, Jammy Dodgers is behind me and she started just sneezing and it's really cute. She just woke up and started sneezing. She's been sleeping on the desk behind me. Or on the chair behind me, rather. This is what we refer to in this family as a butt dodgers, because she snuggles up against your butt. Okay. So, starting on the sweater design. So I put down a layer of creme and then I put down a layer of matte top coat because we are not going to be top coating at the end for this nail because that would be a horrendous mistake. So I'm gonna try and fill over this area that that got the gouge in it. We're just going to do our initial stripes and then the design in between the stripes. And this is going to be a little bit off center, but I don't think I care too much about that. I think it's okay that it's off center a little bit. Okay, so for this... Wait, let me reference my photo again and just make sure I'm doing the design correctly. You know, if you look at it multiple times, you're less likely to mess up when you actually do it. Okay, so it's basically like a little flattened S. All right. Don't want to mess that up. So we go down and then over and then down. And while we're trying to build up some thickness here, we don't want to make it too super thick all at once because then it just won't dry. So, you know, you kind of have to find a happy middle ground. Oh my goodness. I am really operating on hard mode here, trying to paint this with my non-dominant hand. This is challenging, y'all. This is a little more precision than I'm really equipped for. Okay. It's okay though. We're getting it. We're getting it. I'm just gonna try not to do too much of an angle there. All right, and then next layer. So we're just gonna build this up. We might be able to manage it in just 2 coats here. We'll see how it looks after the second coat. All right, there we go. And then just in this corner over here, we're just going to be sort of hinting at the design a little bit because most of it would be hidden. All right, there we go. So that's the portion of the sweater design. That's our first layer of the sweater design. And we're also going to do some of the sweater design here on this thumb, which means I have to do a French tip. We'll start with just the French tip with the straight creme. And then once again, we're going to have to do that matte top coat. Now, we're not going to do the full-on sweater design for this because it's such a small area that it's not really going to read properly. But we can sort of hint at it and bring that texture from the ring nail across to this one to sort of make the whole thing a little more cohesive, okay? Probably could have made that a little bit smaller, but. So that we're gonna end up doing the matte top coat and then a little bit of textured stuff. This one, we will do another layer of textured stuff and then matte top coat on top of the raised areas only, okay? So while we're waiting for those to dry, the next thing we wanna do is add our little dotted snowflakes because there's some little dot snowflakes as well in the background of that other design that we're basing this on. And I think those make a big difference as well in helping to tie everything together because those are also going to be on this nail, which sort of brings the gnome into the whole design so that it just brings a little more cohesiveness to that whole design. I also realized belatedly I was supposed to matte top coat the background for the gnome and not the rest of it, but I think I can get away with just doing a matte top coat over the whole thing. I think that will probably work just fine in this particular case. I don't think I'll be mad at the way that looks. All right, so we want our little palette here cleaned up. Get some fresh white polish out. Come on, let go. There we go. Gotta be careful because being right-handed, doing nail art on my right hand while streaming, I'm constantly, using my right hand for stuff, which does not actually help at all. Okay, so let's see if that's the size dotting tool I want. I'm not entirely certain if that's the size that I want. That might be too big. Yeah, that's going to be a bit too big. So I'm just testing it on the stamper head because it's, sort of more similar to your nail surface than like a piece of paper would be. Not that it's very much like your nail surface, but it's at least slightly rounded. So for me, I find it a little easier to tell whether or not I've got the right size. So we'll just put a few little dots around. So this is going to be our little snowflakes. We've got another ad running on my Spotify. I really need to just get the pro thing so that I can not have these silly ads, because it's annoying when I'm trying to stream. Especially when it's medical ads. I gotta tell you, that's a real weird thing. Being a Canadian, moving to the US, being inundated with medical ads constantly for like various different drugs, it's real weird. We don't have that in Canada. It's like illegal to advertise most drugs that way. Although that has started to change. There's been some changes to how that stuff works in Canada, but yeah. Like, you literally never would see an ad for any medication when I was a kid. Okay. May, you've arrived. Welcome. We're most of the way through. We are not all the way through. You check in and hear about drugs? Yeah, it's because there was the Spotify ads. There was an ad for some drug or other that I wasn't paying attention to. That's ridiculous. Okay. So, next step is going to be the second coat of our creme. Are we ready for that yet? This is rushing it a little bit to do it now, but I feel like if I don't rush it, I'm not going to get through it in a reasonable amount of time for the stream. So I'm just going to go ahead and put the second coat on. I will say, if you are doing this yourself, because of how much we're building up the depth in here, you would want to give it a little more dry time, because it is going to be built up fairly thick since we are using lacquer and not gel for this. Most of the time when you see people they're doing sweater nails that are textured, they're using gel, and of course, you know, they have the ability to do a whole lot of stuff that you can't really do in lacquer quite the same way, because it just doesn't work. Because you have to wait for things to dry, and it can take many, many hours for it to cure. And actually, if you do it too thick, sometimes it just never really quite dries all the way through. So you do have to be a bit careful with that. So I would say just give it extra time in between coats when you're building up this stuff. Certainly a lot more time than I'm giving it here tonight. I would probably give it a solid 20 minutes between coats, personally. Although that will, of course, depend on the polish and how thick you are putting it on and how many layers you're doing. Somebody else recently did a lacquer version of sweater nails using, I'm pretty sure it was basically the same technique that I use, where it's, starting with a matte base and then building up the textures. And then, top coating only the textured areas. Because you don't want to top coat over the entire thing. Again, for those who missed the earlier segment when I first started talking about doing these, it is extremely important. If you top coat over the whole thing, you immediately lose most of your texture that you've just worked so hard to build up. So you don't want to do that. So instead, top coat the base and then build up the textured parts, the raised parts, and then top coat just the raised parts if you want them to be top coated. I certainly will be top coating the raised parts. You're of course welcome to try it the other way, but gel and acrylic, yeah, you're right, Maymay, a lot of them are also using acrylic. There we go. Do you remember who it was that recently did sweater nails with lacquer? Okay, so there's a second layer, a second coat, and I do think 2 is going to be plenty for this. Now for this, I think what I want to do is give it sort of a textured edge and then maybe hint at just a little bit of the raised design. So I'm going to use a stamping tool, or a dotting tool rather, to add some texture to the edge. So just cleaning off my dotting tool here. Okay. Oh, I might need, I don't know if y'all can see that little wispy bit that came out, but my polish got a little too dry. This is one of the few times that I don't really want to add thinner to my polish. Normally, you know, when I'm doing hand painting, I add a lot of thinner to my polish. And if you've watched me do hand painting stuff before, you'll know that I frequently will rethin rather than adding fresh. I'm not doing that here because I don't want to lose too much body in the creme, because I am trying to build up texture. So, and obviously if I thin it too much, then I am going to lose a bit of that. So I'm actually just adding sort of a hint of texture here by putting some little dots in. And it is not going to need to be perfect. It just needs to sort of hint at the same texture that we're going to have in the other part. And I just realized I forgot to matte coat that before I did the textured parts, which was a huge mistake because now I'm going to lose a bunch of the texture as soon as I matte top coat it. It was very foolish of me, but you'll be able, it was Moyra's nails. That makes sense. She does some cool stuff. Hi, Filet. Yeah, so you'll be able to see exactly why we don't top coat textured designs once I top coat this one. No, I think more than 5 minutes, but not much more. Last time you tried to do texture, you used the gel finish top coat and then added color? Yeah, so as long as you're using, like, basically doing your top coat first and then adding your textured polish or your you know, polish layers to build texture, you can then put a top coat over just the parts that you've built up, which is what I'm going to do here, because otherwise I'm going to end up with parts that are shiny, which is weird on something that is essentially supposed to be fuzzy. But yeah, if you just like top coat over the whole thing, you just lose all that texture. So I'm going to once again go back to the original design and just show you sort of where we're at here. So that's the original design that we're adapting. And here's where we're at with it. And I think it's a pretty good, it's hard to get my fingers in here properly. Like, it's obviously not a one-to-one, but I think it captures the spirit of the original design, while still working really well on short nails. And I think it's pretty darn cute. Oh, you built up, I see, you built up the texture with the polish, or the top coat, the quote-unquote gel-like top coat. That makes sense. This is a very thick creme. Most of the cremes that I work with are quite thick. And so I don't find it difficult to build up texture with them. But yeah, you could totally do that as well. Build up your texture with your top coat, and then add the color on top. So I'm just doing a seal glaze to keep it from smudging when I add my regular top coat. I will be doing that on only the nails that have other colors on them. So the stamping and dotting stuff, we don't want that to smudge when we top coat it. And actually, I realize now I should have planned this thumbnail a little more thoroughly, because I am going to need to add a glossy top coat onto the bottom part of it, the sparkly part of it, but I'm going to want matte on the sweater part of it. And so I think before I do anything else with that sweater section of here, I have to top coat this part with regular top coat, and then this part with matte top coat, and then continue on with the texture. That's going to be the next challenge. Okay. So there is my seal glaze, and I have a little bit of polish over here somehow. And by somehow, I mean because I am clumsy. Okay. Yeah, so let's go ahead and move on to the matte top coat on the textured section of the ring fingernail. So I'm going to apply this exactly the same way. I'm going to put the matte top coat on my stamper head, and this gets a little bit more challenging because it can be hard to see your top coat on the stamper head, which does make things a little bit more challenging. And also, as you're applying it, it's hard to tell where you've applied it and if you've gotten it everywhere you meant to get it. So you kind of just have to do your best, go on faith to some extent. You know, it's not like it's impossible to tell, it's just a little bit more challenging. So we're going to do our best here. And we're not going to worry about whether or not it's perfect, because it's going to be darn cute regardless. This is also going to help add a little bit more raised texture, because it, of course, also has some body to it. But more importantly, it is going to mattify the parts that we added, so that it doesn't look weird and goofy that you've got like shiny texture on a matte sweater. Because that would be weird, I think. Okay, I did not do that. And I don't think I mentioned I am using the Holo Taco Matte Taco. Not because I think it's better than everybody else, because it's the only one I've ever tried. It works fine. I don't know if it's better than anybody else. It might be exactly the same thing. I have no idea. I assume that whatever matte top coat you have will work just fine for this. Okay. You know what? I think I'm getting better at doing this with my left hand. Kind of impressed with myself at the moment. Okay. Whew. All right, so we'll let that dry down and mattify. Obviously it does have a satiny look while it is drying down. Since it is so thick, it will probably take a little extra time to dry down. This we need to deal with because boy did I ever mess up the order of operations on this hand. So, gonna do regular top coat on the sparkly parts of this nail, and I'm gonna try to avoid putting it over the creme parts. But boy, oh boy, I really should have planned this thumb better. But you know me, I don't like to plan things if I can help it. I'm anti-plan. You think it's better than the KB Shimmer matte top coat? I mean, I believe you. I have not tried it, so I have no opinion. Alright. So that's all the nails that are getting glossy top coat. And then we have some nails that are just getting matte top coat. So this one, I'm going over the whole thing even though it's gonna mess up the little bit of texture that I have because I screwed up, and we're just gonna have to deal with that. That's fine. It is what it is, you know? And then the gnome gets a matte top coat. Our little gnome friend. It's gonna kill the hollow, but that's okay. Alright, there's our little gnome friend. Our sweater is looking pretty matte. That came out quite nice. Alright, and then I just need to add some texture to this thumbnail. And then do matte on top of the texture, and then we will be done. That's gonna be it. We're just waiting for all of our top coats to dry. Hello, Cannibal. Or should I call you Glow? I don't know. Cannibal Glow is too many syllables. You've come in just as I'm finishing up, of course. Filet has passed the torch, apparently. But yeah, I think I'm pretty pleased with how this came out. I think the only thing I might have done differently, if I was going to do this again, is I would probably put the nose right at the base, and just have a little bit of the beard on either side visible. So I think that would be a little bit cuter and give us a little bit more space for the hat. So I think if I was going to do this mani again, I would squish that down, and that also I think would just be straight up cuter. I think I actually like that better even than the original gnome design. And then I would make this French tip a little thinner. I wouldn't have gone quite so fat with it. And also fixed the order of operations that I screwed up, but you know, that's not a design flaw. That's more of a not planning properly flaw. Filet, what kind of class? Oh, what kind of class is Cannibal having? Cannibal, what kind of class are you having that you need to file your nails down for? Everyone wants to know. You're on the spot now. Surgical skills. Yeah, I guess you would need to probably have short nails for that. That makes sense. Okay. Let's get our next coat of texture stuff. Ooh, I have fuzz all over this. Don't want that. Sometimes I find when you're cleaning off these dotting tools, you'll get like a little bit that will stick like right around the end of the ball, like where the ball comes in, and then you'll end up with like some real gnarly spots where fuzz from cotton pad can build up. And I am not a fan of those. They have messed up many a manicure for me before. All right. Yeah, I think if I were doing this again, I would do less with the thumb. But otherwise, I'm pretty happy with how this all came out. Husky has lesser syllables than cannibal. Yes, but then I have to remember that cannibal equal husky, and I have a hard enough time remembering that I equal Albie. So, you know. Less than 2 millimeters of free edge. So you need to find your ruler to be petty. I mean, it does make sense that you need to have very short nails for surgical skills class. I think it's correct. You really don't want to be rummaging around in there with great big long nails getting in the way. I can see that being a problem. All right, the only thing I have to do at this point is add the matte top coat on top of the dots on that thumbnail. So I'm gonna call this done and probably take a couple of photos and post up the VOD. And that's gonna be it. So does anyone have any questions at this point about any part of this process? There's been research saying what length is best. That makes sense that you would have research on this. I mean, if you think about the fact that that there was a long time where surgeons were like also the same people that were rummaging around in cadavers, and they didn't know they had to wash their hands between patients or between cadavers and living patients. Like, I think it's good that they continue to test this stuff and find out what's best. It's good. It's good that they find out things and then make rules based on what they have found. Boy, if somebody's just like scrolling through, like scrubbing through the VOD later and just happens to come across that one, that's going to be a fun little thing to land on. Have they considered it makes you less cool? Yeah. They probably have not considered that. I'm sorry, Husky. Okay, so I do want to make this an ongoing series. I don't know that I'll have it on a regular basis. Like, I don't think it's going to be a particular day of the month or anything like that. But I do want to sort of continue doing a series of things like this where I'm adapting a long nail design to short nails or a short nail design to long nails. I think it's a lot of fun. It exercises my brain in a cool way. I hope that it's useful, or at least entertaining for you. And so if you come across a design that you would like to see translated into a different nail length, or you have questions about how you might adapt the design, even for a different nail shape, although it would be difficult for me to test that necessarily if it's not either almonds or little nubbies. But yeah, I think, if you have any questions about that, or if there's designs that you would like to see me experiment with, you should just DM them to me, or link them on the Discord, whatever. Show me what you want to see me play with. And I'm looking forward to doing more of these because this was a lot of fun. And thank you all for coming. Y'all are awesome. Even Husky. Even if you have short nails. See, short nails can be super cute. You just gotta do super cute stuff with it. See? It's adorable. Alright? Alright. I'm gonna go. Bye. Goodbye. Alright. And let's do our usual look. There we go. Oh, there it is. Came out pretty cute. All right, bye.